Right, so very interesting presentations this morning and early afternoon. And as I mentioned before, we're moving into a slightly new territory, okay? It's all in the same world, okay? I'm very, very much connected, but we really, the last few sessions today are gonna be really bringing in the world of sports science and technology into coaching and leadership. So I'm gonna keep this really, really, really quick, because Raimo here has really given me instructions to shut up and be quick. Look, we got two outstanding individuals talking about the topic of concussion prevention through the lens of the coach. One is Vladislav I did this really well before, and I've just screwed it up there. Bespomoshchnov, okay, kind of, thank you, who is a practicing ice hockey coach as well as the learning and development coordinator at the Sport Institute of Finland and a lecturer at Haaga-Helia University of Applied Sciences in Vierumäki. And also we've got Raimo Summanen, who is another legend of ice hockey in Finland, coach, player, and that's where I'm going to leave it because I wanna let you talk. So please welcome Raimo and Vladi. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Sergio. Thank you for the introduction and thank you for the opportunity for us to share our insights, and big thanks to Pyry for the organization of this event and scheduling us exactly after the coffee break that we get fresh brains at our disposal, so to say. And as we know, in the beginning there was more discussion from the player's perspective than a bit more our organizational lens of things, and Sergio brought the perspective of an applied academic, and now as he introduced us, we have the both worlds getting together, the coaching and the academic world. And as both of us share the coaching background, we treat this presentation as a game. So if we think about the game plan, is going to be having the similar structure to all of us, so it's quite familiar. Nevertheless, the topics of each of the periods are going to allow us to connect the not only the sports science but also a little bit of the concussion research, and then connect the more applied perspective, so to say. And the first part is the pre-game skate, where we quickly introduce how our journey has started, how we started to work on this project together. And then it's concussion science and the game of numbers, the research that we have done. And then the third period is actually what do we do with that numbers that we have at our disposal, and then we outline the road for the rest of the hockey community. So pre-game skate, let's jump straight into it. Our first meeting was at Vierumäki, the Sports Institute of Finland. Majority of you coming from Finland for sure is familiar with this place, and there are many people who have actually, just like me, graduated from the Haaga-Helia University of Applied Sciences that has a partnership with Vierumäki, and Vierumäki is also the home of the Finnish Lions or the national teams. And so, like it's been mentioned now several times, that our goal with this project is to connect two worlds, and I'll let Raimo now introduce further the way how we work.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, and thanks everybody. I'm pretty proud that I can be here. I'm this academic guy. It's practical. For me, I've been coach, player, but the biggest thing what I'm a student of sport. And that means I have one rule, whatever I do in the sport and life, I need to try it myself. I'm 60 years old. I see there's a couple older guys, Rex and some old-looking guys, and they maybe do the same, but it's pretty tough to try to do things that you are that old. But why I have this rule? If I do it myself, there's ethics in, and there's no bullshit information. And this, our topic today, concussions. I see so much harm done by the coaches, by all our hockey community people. So you need to put your skin in the game. If you don't learn at all in this. This you need to feel it, you need to do it. And if you don't can do this, then you need to have some partner. Same like we. I'm not so fucking smart, I'm pretty dumb. But he's smart, and we can still cooperate together. And that's my message for you. And if there's any in this today, so put yourself in. Then you can save lots of concussions in hockey.
Indeed, thank you, Raimo. So our journey, and if we look at it as a timeline, started from 2020 when we just outlined the need that, hey, there is a missing link when it comes to the practical lens of concussion prevention, that there is a lot of the efforts from the governing bodies, nevertheless, that how can we as coaches help our players. And so then as a result, to inform our actions and to have them not only based on experience, that we have collected data and we have reviewed research from many different fields, not only ice hockey or the concussion prevention, but we also looked into drowning prevention efforts and research in sports like rugby or
Vladi,
Australian football.
Could I say one?
Please.
This morning, 10:30, I went with my martial arts coach, done 10 years, and maybe the reason why I'm so in this. And the whole session was how you fucking defend your head. So it's a real. Vladi, go on.
So in other words, we are not only evidence-based, but we're also battle-tested. And moving forward to the concussions in ice hockey. So before we go any further talking about what they are, we need to all get on the same page of what's going on in our sport. So it's been quite evident that, hey, the awareness has been largely going up. A lot of coverage from media and a lot of players and coaches going forward talking about how important this topic is and how impactful it was. So we can safely say that, hey, we have been quite well in terms of the concussion awareness. Nevertheless, if we think about education, that's something that has been lacking, and it's, if we look at the research and evaluation of the efforts that are exist at the moment, they are largely affected by the PDFs that are shared on websites that are, rarely seen by people, and or short-term courses that are helping in the short term to people get some information, but then obviously as there is no follow-up on it, then things are quickly forgotten. And it's true for both. It's true for players and it's true for coaches. And from my experience from the junior level, that when you work as a coach, at times you're quite alone, and you need to be active and seek many different ways how you can gain the information about the topic. And personally, the steepest learning curve for me was that when we started working together, this is where I really learned about what the concussions are and what things as coaches we can do. And Raimo, what's your take in the professional world?
Yep, it's there's some old players here, and I done 16 years with individual coaching with our top guys, like National Hockey League, national team guys, with Janne Hänninen. He's a skating coach, or he's a hockey coach almost now. So 5-6 years ago, we start thinking that, oh fuck, we did skating a little wrong, because guys gonna get cuckoo too much. So that's a big difference already, that we start changing that, okay, you can't put your head too down. You can go faster, but up, some other things can happen. And second thing was, for me 3 years ago, I started asking our guys, that time we have 12 guys, I asked that where you learn things, that how you protect your head, and who was the teacher for you. And 3 examples. one old guy told, oh, it's simple. I just move my head away. It's good. Then the second one, oh, I put hands up and I protect my head. Great one. Then the third one was really good. Plays now in National Hockey League, plays now in the playoffs. Oh, fuck, I don't go even these things if there is a danger. And, oh, it's complicated. And then I asked, who gave this advice? Just old player or mom or dad? Never coach. And then, oh, fuck, we are dumb. And we need the total coaching system here. And for me and for my players and the kids, I did this for the kids too. It's not violent thing. It's not macho thing. It's just that you defend. You don't ever need to be aggressive. So that's the biggest take. We always concentrate that, oh, I'm going to hit somebody. No. I just teach that don't even hit. Just defend yourself. Don't fight. Just defend yourself. And I think that's we need to speak up loud. Thanks, Vlad.
And then as we know that typically that the education is lacking, I just wanted to use this opportunity to share a few quick facts, so to say, so that when we leave this room from over here, that for some of us might be even the first chance of the concussion education within the coaching or playing careers. Well, first things first, that as we know that the brain, the most complex organ that we have at our disposal, that chances are that if there is even the smallest change in its structure, then there are likely to be serious consequences. And then if we think about that, what's important for us to coaches to know, and that's of course to recognize and do our best to minimize the risk as early as possible. But the challenge is that, as we know, in the heat of the game, when some hit is going to happen to a player and he is not going to feel well, and there is a pressure to win the game, chances are that that player is not going to report it, and there might be a chance for the secondary concussion that might really lead to the severe consequences. And small practical tip right away is that from Scottish rugby there is the campaign called "If in doubt, sit them out," because there was one lethal case when the child received a secondary concussion and there was a lethal outcome. So if you go out there and you feel that, hey, there is a small suspicion of someone sustaining it, chances are that it's better if we take them out of the lineup and put their safety and well-being at the top instead of winning the short-term game. And obviously, if you know that in your roster you have a player who has had a concussion, that means that chances are that when he is sustaining an impact that might not be as severe, it may cause the secondary one much easier than it was before due to the history. Nevertheless, if we think about the general processes on how we train on and off the ice, it can happen anywhere, and that's why we need to be on at all times. So, Sergio, while you were having lunch, I quickly went onto your computer and copied this picture. And now we're going to cover the key mechanisms that cause the concussion. And it would be quite intuitive to think that, hey, body contact is the most common one. And we're not going to be far away from the truth, because indeed in almost every contact sports, the study report that the most common mechanism is indeed player-to-player contact. But this is a little bit too zoomed in perspective that takes our focus away from the other things that might be happening and potentially stopping us from other more effective ways how we can start preventing them, namely looking at the wider picture, what happened before or after the collision, meaning that before how someone was in what technical or tactical situation you were, or after the contact, were you able to protect yourself when you make a contact with the board or with an ice. And that's why, because we see it so zoomed in, that's what has affected our decision making within the hockey community, the kind of efforts that we have had in the past. And Raimo, I think you have a bit more experience than me in the world of hockey. How do you see the existing efforts right now?
That's a history, and it's a top-down. You see these old things. Good campaign in Canada about 20, 30 years ago. Ethics, ethics, ethics. It's good, but it's not enough all. It's going to be a trap. So many kids get a concussion because we start believing in ourselves that, oh, everybody's fair. No, no, never, never. Life is never fair. Second thing, safety boards. I believe myself that, oh, that's a good solution of the thing. But, oh, bullshit. We kind of have a data almost ready that it's helped, but not at all enough. And then this referee thing, it's a good. We need the referees, and they're doing good job, but they need more that there's a coaches and players knowledge too, and the real life experience. Then mouth guard, there's lots of hope, but it kind of seems like it's a little bit fuzzy still. And then we have these helmets. And every time this takes the whole discussion, one thing at a time. And there is never any talk about coaching. And that's a bullshit thing. And for us, we hockey people, teams, we need to take the lead. We need to take lead because we know the most. And we can connect each other. And this is good, but this is such a small thing. And I know why it's small thing, because money is there, business is there. Coaching, we coach, there is no value. So, guys, the value is for the kids that what you do, whatever, and then money will follow that. But we need to change this around. It's always every good thing comes down, up. Everything. Never other way around. And you guys are the experts of this bottom up. So need to be proud of this thing.
Indeed, and you know, like Raimo highlighted it, and we don't say that those are the bad efforts. All of them have their spot and they have their value, but it's not enough. When you think that the big misconception is that the protective equipment can help us prevent the concussions, they do indeed protect our skulls and they protect our teeth. Nevertheless, if we think about that the concussion is caused by the movement of the brain inside the skull, then it takes us to the conversation that, hey, unless we put a seat belt on the brain, it's not going to help us. And if we dig deeper and think about that, why some of these lone warriors in the battlefield, so to say, cannot help us to solve this war with the concussion, so to say, it's potentially due to our philosophical understanding of things. And we think that these two words have been used and abused quite a lot. And I guess right now we have a good opportunity to get really to the bottom of it, what it means complicated and what means complex, because there is indeed a difference. And that's why we would like to turn to the complex systems theory thinking. And they're generally, like we had there, the complicated and the complex domain. And the key difference is that if we have a look at the complicated system, there are many moving parts, just like in our car, that A leads to B to C to D, and then we get the final outcome. But as you can see, there is a certainty. There is a certainty that A causes B and B causes C. But we also know that whenever we have humans involved, certainty from time to time is something that we can only wish or hope for. That's why a better way how to approach the solution of this concussion dilemma in contact sports is by adapting the complex systems thinking, or thinking about that, hey, there is thinking that there is a relationship in between the parts. And there are some regularities that one may cause another. Nevertheless, it's not often certain. And if we do not put our efforts into studying where those connections are, typically we're going to turn back to the complicated ways of thinking and trying to solve it that, hey, if we introduce a given rule, that certainly is going to change the whole game. And to better illustrate this point or the how complex is the world, or how complex is the nature of any accident, would it be collision in ice hockey, or would that be a plane crash? We'd like to show this quick clip and then outline the key learning points from there.
Too low, terrain.
50, 40, 30, 20.
Successful landing at Teterboro, runway 19.
Multiple airports, runways, 2 successful landings. We are simply mimicking what the computer already told us.
You know, a lot of toes were stepped on in order to set this up for today. And frankly, I really don't know what you gentlemen plan to gain by it.
Can we get serious now?
Captain?
We've all heard about the computer simulations, and now we are watching actual sims, but I can't quite believe you still have not taken into account the human factor.
Human piloted simulations showed that you could make it back to the airport.
No, they don't. These pilots were not behaving like human beings, like people who are experiencing this for the first time.
Well, they may not be reacting like you did.
Immediately after the bird strike, they are turning back for the airport, just as in the computer sims, correct?
That is correct.
They obviously knew the turn and exactly what heading to fly. They did not run a check. They did not switch on the APU.
They had all the same parameters that you faced.
No one warned us. No one said you are going to lose both engines at a lower altitude than any jet in history. But be cool. Just make a left turn for LaGuardia like you're going back to pick up the milk. This was dual engine loss at 2,800 feet, followed by an immediate water landing with 155 souls on board. No one has ever trained for an incident like that. No one. In the Teterboro landing, with its unrealistic bank angle, we were not the Thunderbirds up there. I'd like to know how many times the pilot practiced that maneuver before he actually pulled it off. I'm not questioning the pilots. They're good pilots. But they've clearly been instructed to head for the airport immediately after the bird strike. You've allowed no time for analysis or decision-making. In these simulations, you take in all of the humanity out of the cockpit. How much time did the pilots spend planning for this event, for these simulations? You are looking for human error. Then make it human.
So the lessons are as follows: that every collision or every accident is unique, and it has an element of surprise, like the pilot highlighted there, that no one warned us, and we never ever trained for an incident like that. Nevertheless, if we get to the second point of the lessons from this video, is that the pilot had the skills to solve the problem on the flight, that he was able to land the plane safely on the water within the insane constraints that he had, that he lost both of the engines at the lower altitude in history. And the last lesson is that what hockey coaches can take from the aviation industry is how thorough and how detailed is the process of analysis of every accident. So that's why how they can harness the complexity that exists in this world, and that's how they can simplify the complexity. So, thinking about how thorough the analysis should be to better understand what's going on, let's now move on to the second period and the game of numbers. So the that we collected was with the support of these two leagues, and we would like to thank them for the cooperation on our journey, and they were able to equip us with the video clips that helped us inform our decision making when it comes to the teaching curriculum development. And so the data from the past 4 seasons from each of the leagues was analyzed, and as you can see that we took into account 36 factors. It wasn't that we just looked at the technical or tactical event, but it went a little bit further, so to say, for us to better understand and better start making the links in between. And the data that we collected were the checking to the heads and checking from behind and other high-risk type of collisions that are registered by the discipline committee. And because of that, we need to respect the GDPR guidelines, and unfortunately, we cannot show the clips. Nevertheless, we do our best to highlight the lessons in as graphical way as possible. And I guess we can jump into our biggest finding. And if we think about research, you need to make assumptions, you need to make hypotheses, and then you either verify or dismiss them. And if we think about the way how all of us have been taught is that we need to be always careful with the puck. And that whenever you have the puck and you are to an extent in danger. Well, that's how the reality looks like, that close to 60% of the cases the player was not with the puck. He was either going for 50-50 puck, or he just released it, meaning that he was either giving the pass or he was taking the shot. So that small little detail, to an extent, made us wake up at least that, hey, maybe we've been searching in the wrong corner for the answers when it comes to the skill teaching. And potentially that's why whenever the player has been releasing the puck, he was having a false assumption of safety. Because when you're told from the very young age all the way to the pro that, hey, you're dangerous with the puck, your assumption is that when I release it, I'm in safety. But because of the speed of the game, it has been communicated in numerous books and numerous media outlets and verified by the research that the speed of the game is not going down, it's only going up. Therefore, the players who are out there willing to complete the check, they will likely to jump on you. Next up, with that assumption, we were a bit more closer to the truth that if we think about the game of hockey, that when you're the team and you're winning, typically the losing team might have some sour feelings here and there, and that's why we saw this trend that whenever you're leading the game, you're to an extent in danger. And for example, whenever you're in the lead, we hope that you will be able to take it now into a consideration that, hey, maybe we cannot not only protect the lead but also try to protect ourselves. Nevertheless, Raimo, as you coached in many leagues in Europe, what's your how did you take that data?
You can say that the Finnish league is more dirty in this than Swedish league. Swedish league is pretty fair that they play rough all the time, but Finnish league you see this that there's payback. And European leagues I saw a lot that almost only advice if you ever have a lead, then hey, keep your head up. And it was kind of a little bit like old-time hockey. Reksa knows, if he's still here, in National Hockey League, old-time hockey, if you lead 2-3 goals, if there's a good team against you, then they're going to fucking put you really hard to spot. But it was surprised that it's still existing these days. And this could be the good help for our referees, our leagues. And whatever people are on top, they can always say and tell and give good penalties for the people. There's lots of people who they play ugly, dirty, they want to hurt.
Moving on, we have the other key question that we have been asking ourselves. What about the period distribution? And the assumption for that question came from the available NHL data from the research, and that the fact that 47% of the concussive hits has happened actually in the first period. And then when we have done the analysis of the hits, it came to us that, hey, actually the disparity in between the periods is not as high in the Finnish and Swedish leagues, meaning that safety is a topic that we should be worried about, not only in the first period, but rather thinking about it in general, from the moment the game starts and until the very end of it. So I guess we can call it as a dessert, so to say, for the hockey coaches, as we're all after the learning what things we can do where. The NHL data, yet again, getting back to it, it has shown that there is a more or less equal distribution in between the hits nearby the boards and hits that happen in the open ice. Nevertheless, if we have a look at the Euro, potentially because of the differences in the sizes, we saw that only 31% of the collisions occurred in the open ice, and the remaining 69% has been on the boards, meaning that whenever we think about the dangerous collisions that are shown on TV, they are enormous and they happen on the open ice and the magnitude is higher. Yes, it's true indeed, but it doesn't show the full picture. And as we know how complex the process of the concussion is, that for some players that if you can get checked to the head and your head hits the board and then you fall, you can get up and back check. While for the other one, even a small collision may start causing symptoms. And then if we take this analysis further and not only break it down by the open ice or the boards, if we think about each of the zones, that's what the data told us. And one explanation of such difference in between the zones might be is that the amount of forwards that has been hit is higher than the defenseman. Well, obviously the team has more forwards and simple truth, but we need to keep that in mind whenever we're coaching our teams, and whenever you go after a loose puck, when you dump and chase, you need to be careful. Whenever you put the rim behind the net and you go and pick it up, you need to be careful. And then if we take the data, we need to think about, okay, how do we actually apply it in our daily coaching? This is where we hit the third period, and this is where we turn to the industry that may not be as intuitive. Nevertheless, that's the industry that has informed a lot of our efforts, and the research from that area shows that they're doing quite hell of a job there. So that area is drowning prevention, and the vast majority of the research is coming from Australia, New Zealand, as the amount of open water in those countries is quite vast. And the journey that this industry went on was that, of course, in the beginning, there were thorough attempts to assess the causes of the drowning, which would then inform the amount of and the kind of skills that you need to be training. And then the last question is, okay, how do we actually train them? And the one interesting paradox from from their journey that we can learn is that when the statistical analysis was done on the data, the drowning victims, quite many of them, were actually pretty competent swimmers. And then if we start thinking that, hey, it's quite intuitive that learning how to swim should help you to prevent drowning. Well, thinking about the morning presentation of Sergio and where the content is the king, context is the god. So here we can say that all the learning of the swimming is done indoors, but drowning is outdoors. So the moment that you switch the environment, then there is a change in what kind of skills is required for you to stay alive in water. Because swimming pools, typically, they don't have streams. In a swimming pool, it's comfortable water that you can swim just in swim shorts. But in outdoor environments, you don't get to choose the kind of water temperature that you might have. And typically, swimming in clothes requires quite different abilities than swimming just in the most comfortable swimsuit, if I may. So what's the lessons for the hockey industry? Is that if we think about the performance skills and performance of, for example, stick handling or shooting, all of it that we learn in training to gain the performance, to learn how to shoot faster, if it's done in the environment that doesn't require you to think about the safety, the performance skills are not going to lead to it. But if those skills are taught with the safety in mind, chances are that those are going to lead to performance on the ice. And quoting Raimo from one of our conversations about the data, he said that, Vladi, hey, one of the key learnings here is that it's very hard to score a goal from a hospital. So that means that if we take care of the safety, that means that our scoring is going to go up. And for the next bit, where Raimo is going to share the two key principles that we need to keep in mind in our daily coaching whenever we hit the ice.
And everybody knows this. And that's a trick. We need to just do it. And it is really simple. Put the next one. Eye on the game. This thing. If we just do this thing a little bit better, we can do so great. And today, you're going to go see the game, or you're going to go to see the Tampa Bay Lightning goes against Florida tonight or tomorrow. You see that fucking these guys makes the mistakes in this. It's awful. Kids can make the mistakes on this thing and the adults. And it never goes away. And if you ever meet later on, grab me, and if I'm a liar of this, but I believe that this is the key of all these things. Because the boxing, they have a saying, I can take all hits what comes that I see, but the blind hits comes, I'm down. And I think that that's true, because boxing has been like 10,000 years more. So there is time is good evidence. So you teach the kids, go through this all the time. Then already there is safety training. Then there is less concussions. And the next one, and this is the other thing. It's a simple thing, but there is so many things in. And the lesson for me today, this morning, that wrestling thing, I'm a bad wrestler. But head placement, whatever you fucking put your head, that could be your heaven or it could be your disaster, hell. So here at the hockey, you teach the kids or man or whatever. Hit is coming, keep your fucking eyes open. Many guys close to eyes, but teach them. And then head placement, where you put it. And there's many places where you can put it. And it's never one trick pony.
And what has been highlighted by Raimo before, again, learning from combat sports, if we think about the boxing competition, how it starts, that
but if I see so many boxing coaches, Olympic lifting coaches, whatever, wrestlers, but they don't know our sport. You need to deal, you need to learn with the other sport, but you know more than many of these guys. Canelo is pretty good boxer or whatever. He knows everything, the head movement. But if anybody I take here, I trust this guy here in this room. He would teach for the hockey. And it's always that, what you Vladi told. It's specific thing. And we need to take lead in hockey. Don't believe these guys in other sports too much.
Nevertheless, we can all always take their lessons, and just like you said, we need to adapt them to our sport. Otherwise, if we just take certain principles from the other sport and we don't adapt it to our game, then things are not likely going to be as safe for our athletes. And even though we don't have videos, it's not an excuse, so to say. And for the last part of the presentation, I wanted to show this one example, which was one of the most common situations from all the hits that we've been going through, and it really encapsulates the whole presentation over here. So, like we think from the period number 2, thinking about what the puck position is, typically there comes a pass, okay? But then the crucial spot is, again, to highlight Raimo's point, what happens next? Are your eyes on the game or not? And in 70% of the cases when the puck release and someone is looking at someone to who I passed, then chances are from the blind side there comes the hitter, and the consequences are much more drastic than instead of after the pass, I'm going to just take the glance on the opposite side. And here's also the lesson that whenever you see the hit and whenever you anticipate it, the risk of the concussion significantly goes down. And these teaching principles should not be just once in a while, but it should be every day. And it's our job to lead it and our job to walk the talk. If we really say that well-being is the key and our key value, then we should show it with the way how we train. And quickly for the overtime, we have the two guidelines for our ice hockey community that we wish to fulfill in order to make it a safer place for our athletes. And the first quote comes from my recent conversation from a rugby expert from the Sergio's University, Ben Jones, when he told me that, Vlad, remember that one of the key things is that if we have questions but we don't have answers, that means that we need research. And in hockey, it's quite common that a lot of our decision-making has been informed by the expert opinion. It has been informed by our assumptions, but we need to always verify them, because without data, without the proof that, hey, this is actually what is happening, we will continue adapting the approaches that are leading us in a certain direction, but do they actually take us to where we want to be, and do they actually inform our actions with the best possible information? And as you saw that how the complex is the game of hockey is, how complex is the hitting event, there could be a zillion of still studies that could be conducted for us to take even a smaller and better step in the right direction. And as the topic of this symposium is leadership, the last bit over here is going to be concentrated largely on the principle that should be guiding our everyday life, and it is already used quite extensively in long-term athlete development speeches, and the fact that the junior coaches need to help the athletes to progress from under 10 to under 12 to under 14 and keep them in the game. But we would like to take a little bit more safety twist, so to say, to it. And that is that you don't want to be the last coach of any player. And just like Raimo said, that if we need to take the leadership, we need to also take ownership of what we do. And I guess one of the hardest things for us to accept is that when you know that there was a player that you have been coaching, but he had to stop playing hockey because of the collision that you as a coach could have prevented. And like we also know that if we really take safety seriously and teaching the skills of keeping the eyes on the game, protecting yourself at all times, it can kind of help us with scoring as well.
For me, I heard that this seminar is leadership. And it's so much this that can animals play the hockey or whatever, green world or all these nice things, emotions, who feels good, who is crying, who is saying bad or whatever. And if you are real, and if hockey people are real, this is, as leadership point of view, this is the first thing and this is the last thing. And we fix this, then we can talk these nice things. But it's not other way around. And we need you. We need everybody when we need to take the lead. We can't have a lead with some commercial guys who are fucking giving these words, smile, do have a happy family, whatever. It's not happy family now because we are not doing this topic so well. So take the lead, and it's the first thing and the last thing. And ask for money, your sponsors, your team, whatever. Speak it is in media, speak everywhere. Because I don't see that there's other way. If it is, then somebody's lying. And then you need to spot the fraud. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Vlad.
Thank you.
Thank you. Raimo, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Okay, let's see if...
Smile.
I'm smiling. I'm just waiting to get hit by you. I'm looking at my blind side here as well.
Never hit, always different.
Okay, very thought-provoking presentation. And I think again, watching this from the perspective of someone that comes from outside hockey, but a sport that has collisions as well, although albeit normally less, not as strong as yours, okay? I thought you were going to hit me there for a second. Very interesting to watch the presentation. I wonder, I'm going to send it straight to you, because as the experts really here around obviously ice hockey, what are your questions for Vlad and Raimo about this presentation? How difficult is it what they are proposing that you do? What are the main issues that you see or the main challenges in trying to fix this problem? Go on there, please. Can we get a microphone there? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Timo Winkvist from Kiekko Espoo, and I'm a skill coach there for the youth teams. I have a background with American football, as we say here in Finland, and I have my share of concussions in that sport. What I have been worried about ice hockey is that we don't do enough for the neck area physical training for that. So I know that it eases and it prevents a major of concussions, but still we need to do on that behalf also something and more.
Indeed, for sure. And when you saw it, the iceberg picture, there was the strength training. Yeah, so we haven't explicitly mentioned it, but our focus more was around the game. But indeed, cannot agree with you more that the neck muscles and the bracing of the neck muscles are amongst one of the key preventative factors. Though some evidence is mixed, but it is one of the most promising areas that we need to study further.
And it's not just you need to get stronger there, but how you train that neck, it's you know already in the American football that it's a little bit complicated. And that's the reason why we need to start with some simple things, but we need those.
Yeah, of course.
It's an everyday thing, or whatever you do with your face, that helps you a lot.
Yeah, like you see it also in the combat sports. First, what do you learn? You learn to fall.
Yeah, and then you fall that you kind of protect your head, and then goes how you fall that you have the next technique or whatever.
Yep.
Even you fall if you are cuckoo out, then still you can protect your head. And then comes the question that you need to drill it so much. And I never done this I can't drill with the guys because then they go away. They say, fuck, let's play hockey. And then it's another question. This is not easy thing to train for the kids and it's not easy thing to train for the guys. And I saw the guys who never get concussions, it's nothing. But right away they get the concussions, then they start asking. So, but this is hard thing to train for the kids or men or ladies.
Great. I think I've got Nick there. Can we get a microphone over to Nick, please? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. A question, you said you did a research in the Swedish and Finnish league. What was the difference? Because what Raimo was teaching with heads up, the Swedish guideline in the federation there, the first thing when you start talking about stick handling is split vision. It's the first thing since 25 years, it's split vision that they teach. So was there any difference between Finland and Sweden with those things?
It seems like Sweden, they have the odd, they are like a little bit more man, and it's a rough. But that's a good thing. We know these things that there is many coaches, like 20, 30, 40 years already, Russia, Czech, US, Canada, they teach this thing. But the catch is, I see that how you have a split vision. It's not so simple, so you can teach this wrong way, then you can actually get the harm for the player.
For the uninitiated like myself, split vision is when you're looking both at the puck and the game?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that even possible physiologically? Question. Can you look at two things at the same time?
I think, again, with the language, about the focus.
And couldn't feel it. In hockey and whatever sport, it's a feeling and then you're seeing. You kind of see it, but you don't, and you don't kind of focus, but you feel it. And that's whole skill training.
Okay.
And then you can do this thing. And we know coaches here, it's kind of, you need to do it. You need to do it.
Sergio, and from basketball, I think you're quite aware when you bounce it and when you watch somewhere, you really feel it. And you just need to have, for example, me looking at Sami right now, but I could really feel the ball over here. And with my peripheral vision, I can have small but still assurance that, hey, I'm keeping a hold of it.
Your skin is your skin is best eyes for you. That's a proven fact. Wrestling, whatever. That's why you need to have lots of these easy contact drills that you start feeling more and more. Then your brain don't get overloaded. Because trick is there. You're gonna play that the puck is there. You feel it, then you can really look the game. And even best guys, in the panic or you are tired or the opponent is too hard, you fail. That's life.
Great. Any other questions? No? So let me make an observation and another question, and I'm going to put the two together. So, Nick, in your presentation, you talked a lot about chaos and bringing chaos into the activity. How does can chaos help, or chaos training, to call it something, help with this in terms of giving players a better understanding of the game so they can see things happening before they happen? Or is it too dangerous to train this through chaos training? I don't know.
This is I think, the whole point of view. So there is that thing that we like to do all the time, average things, that the curve is like this. Really easy training with a little effort, and then in the middle ground a lot, and then hard training, really hard training little. But we need to turn this around. So you go a lot of time with just playing easy. Little touching, no, that there's no chance to get hurt. Then this middle ground you take off, and then you go that real. And this way you can kind of maybe learn this chaos.
So
but it's, yeah. So you go like totally different, like a smiling man.
Yeah.
And I try to do this many years, but always I see that, oh, now average. Like everything what I do, then it's like a semi-hard speed. Semi-hard, not fully hard and not easy, lazy, and it's a most biggest enemy for this kind of topic, and it's hard. I never solve myself this thing with the team level.
So you get first the coordination in a safe environment where you learn how to control everything, but then you need the game-like intensity that the players actually have the relevant feeling that, hey, I'm now in a game and there might be a danger coming.
On harder than the game. So you need to speed up even harder.
Yeah.
And there is always danger, but then it's a coaching that when you want to put those practices, and it's really hard, because I can give example. We do good off-ice training with Olympic lifting, whatever, great coaching, and then you're going to put this kind of training. Bad mistake.
Yeah. Great. Any final questions? There we go. Can we get the microphone over here just really quickly for everybody to hear? Thank you. Great running technique there. Loving it. You're gliding. Oh, it's right here. Yeah.
Nick from Switzerland. Did you look at the size of the players when in your studies?
What do you mean?
I think bigger guys are less vulnerable to concussions than smaller guys.
Okay, now we get in that conversation. Now we get in a conversation of physics a little bit. That the force equals mass times velocity. And mass does indeed help, but even if a smaller guy, well, Rami is a little bit bigger than me, so but nevertheless, if I can pick up high enough speed, and if I am ready for the collision and he is not, he might have a false sense of safety that, hey, I'm bigger. What could happen with me? And then he exposes himself to a situation where I know that he's bigger, so I typically need a bit more speed to have a contact that I can actually take the puck away from him, that it would actually make sense. And getting back to your point, as you saw, we have 36 factors, and weight of the players and height was indeed part of them, but we haven't yet done the final analysis as a human being. I have a small limit to my abilities, how many things I can do at the same time. But let's stay in touch, and I'll keep you posted on it.
I can say this because I'm not academic. Looks like I was thinking that this is the case. That's how the brain goes with the hockey player and coach. And I see the numbers that I was disappointed because there wasn't no correlation so much. I was waiting because that's all the time I was hearing this many years, that if you are bigger, stronger, then you are safe. But seems like it's not so much case. And then age, like how old you are. In Finland, a couple of years or 3 years ago was big thing. Junior get couple clicked out. Then they keep telling that, oh, young kids, they just play the internet. They are not so good in this. But wasn't case.
No.
And he is doing great work with this because he goes all these angles. And great that somebody does this kind of work.
And like I mentioned before, that that like a media shows our big open ice hits, and then they start communicating that, hey, 2 young guys got hit, guys. Hey, no more young guys in the pro team. Keep them in under 20s. Don't let them play. And basically overblow those 2 cases.
And one thing I want to blow out a little bit. There's lots of talk this, if he takes the hits away in hockey, the concussions will be if we keep training like this. Even you take this, you make the rule that, it's like a women hockey that you can't hit. So many concussion comes because we have a little bit a nif for the other sport like a floorball, basketball, soccer. Bad numbers.
Okay, well look, we're going to leave it there for this session. A big thank you to Raimo and Vlad for some great work that is really, really needed, so thank you very much.
Thank you.